If there's one market where Volkswagen has not been as strong as they should have been, it is in the C/D segment SUV market. Yes, they had the Tiguan Allspace, but that was never a model that could stand on its own 2 feet. But Volkswagen is here to rectify that with this one, the all-new Volkswagen Tayron. So in this review, I'm going to do a deep dive in the all-new Volkswagen Tayron. Let's talk design for this new Tayron, and it's obviously a nod towards the Tiguan and even the ID.4 with these headlights. It's very, very reminiscent of the ID.4 there. But it is not that similar to the Touareg, and size-wise it is closer to the Touareg than the Tiguan. We'll see how that translates into the interior spaces, but this is also the R-line, the highest spec. There's the Life, the entry level, and the Elegance, which will not drive in this press trip. But it looks elegant while striking. It has good proportions and a lot of pano black plastics that will of course scratch. We are now in the engine bay, and let's talk about the different engine configurations. This is the diesel, no hybrid, all-wheel version. You have the mild hybrid 150 horsepower 1.5 liter engine, and of course the plug-in hybrid versions, either the 200 horsepower and the 270 horsepower, but all power is sent to the front wheels, and that gives you around 120 kilometers of range, plus or minus. Of course, now it's a little bit colder, you will get a little bit less as well. In the back is where you definitely see that this is bigger than the Tiguan. It uses the size to its advantages, and these LED lights here in the back with the 3D effect and the horizontal bar, the Volkswagen logo that is also lit up. This is the 7-seater. There's of course the 5-seater as well, but that means that you get a little bit less space. Right now the rear seats is folded down. That gives you 850 liters of storage space, but if they are folded up, you get 350 liters of storage space. And if you go for the 5-seater configuration, you get 880 something liters of storage space. And of course we need to check out that rear seating arrangement. So let's go on a little adventure here. But you need to do some things before you can get in. And that is of course moving this seating forward. And you have a metal bar underneath the seat. You push it, then you move it forward. Then you have this strap on the side which you pull, which makes it move forward. And then it's just a matter of being elegant. And it is obvious that the people here in the back needs to be quite small, preferably children, but if you need to go a few kilometers, I could sit here in the back. And I think that is decent enough for a SUV not being the biggest of SUVs. This is the R-line that gives you better materials. What is better materials? Well, it's what you think is better. The Life gives you fabric, textile. This gives you leather. Okay amount of lower thigh support. The knee space is not the best, but you can move the seat both forward and backward. That gives you a huge amount of knee space, but that makes it impossible to sit in the back, so you have to choose a little bit. If you want even more space, of course you go for the 5-seater, so you can store a lot of things in the back. But in the Life you get 3-zone climate control as standard, and of course a bonus as well with this stitching and the blue accent together with some Alcantara lookish materials. Then of course you have the panoramic sunroof that gives a lot of natural light, and it goes all the way to the back. I don't know what I was expecting, but I am pleasantly surprised. Yes, there's a lot of things that I am reminded of from other models, of course, but these upgraded seats compared to the Life are incredibly supportive, and you have of course extendable lower Wi-Fi support. In the standard life, they are of course also comfortable, but this is a little bit higher up in the ergonomics department, of course. But interior-wise, I like it. Very horizontal in design, but soft design features all around. And in this R design, a lot of panel black plastic that has even started to see some scratches here and there. You also have the R exclusive steering wheel that I think is quite big in the diameter, but quite thin to hold on, and you have buttons. Thank you for that. One new design feature is this middle or center console control department with the start engine stop button. You can increase and decrease the volume, but if you press it, you have different drive modes that you can select. And on the right side here you have the parking brake. But here is a detail that you will find in other Volkswagen models, especially the ID4, the drive, normal, reverse indicator stock, and I think that looks quite tacky in this interior. And of course, in a new Volkswagen there's quite a lot of tech, so we need to start the car up, and this is a diesel. Sounds okay to start it, but when you stop the car, this diesel sounds extremely rough. But let's talk digital gauge cluster, and it gives you all the necessary information, that's for sure. Maybe not the clearest compared to the infotainment system, but depending on which view you are in, and you can of course select which information you want to have on the right, middle and left side. You can even have the navigation up here. You even have the selectable head-up display in this car. Here you have the different driving modes, which you can go through either the button on here, and you can of course do it through the mode button with the different shortcuts up here. So Eco, Comfort, Sport, which are standard in the Life as well. But if you go for the all-wheel drive alternatives, you even have off-road snow. Then the individual that you can customize with the DCC that comes as standard in the R line. So more comfort oriented or more sport oriented, a little bit tighter, stiffer. If you go back, you see here how quick it is at responding, and if you go to the home menu as well, see it is quite logically laid up as well. I really like this infotainment system in general. If you go into the assist, you have a shortcut to cancel the speed warning, which can become quite annoying at times. And driving wise, this Tyron feels like a bigger car or a bigger SUV, that's for sure. It feels more related to a Touareg perhaps than a Tiguan, and in a good way. The long wheelbase definitely helps it, together with this mild hybrid petrol engine being a little bit lighter than the plug-in hybrid and four-wheel drive alternatives. But they do get the DCC Pro, that two-way adjustable or two reservoir dampers that are unique for those vehicles. But you can spec it out if you choose it in this Life alternative as well. This base Tayron, the Life, the 1.5 liter mild hybrid, does give you a lot of base features. Free zone climate control, a decently big infotainment system. You do not get navigation as standard, but all or more or less all the bells and whistles that you would need as a daily is there. And the price. This is the Life, the base engine configuration. I should also mention that even though I explained all the engine configurations to you before, I still mix all of them up. It's a complicated lineup, that's for sure. But around 420,000 Swedish kronor, which is somewhere around 36,000 euro. If you go for the plug-in hybrid alternatives or even the four-wheel drive max horsepower version, petrol only, you will pay about 600,000 Swedish kronor. Spec it out to over 800,000 Swedish kronor. That's a lot of money. And that brings us to the competition, because this is somewhere in no man's land, I think. This is in a land which Volkswagen themselves have created a little bit. Yes, you have the Kodiaq, and of course you have the new Cupra Terramar. But this is bigger than, for example, a Volvo XC60, that's for sure. So you have to look at size, you have to look at performance, you have to look at qualities, and you have to look at what you basically get for your money. And this Life base model mild hybrid version does give you a lot of bang for your buck. But if I were you, especially here in Northern Europe, Northern Nordics, there's an engine configuration that is lacking, which I would look at, and that is a four-wheel drive plug-in hybrid alternative. That is absolutely missing in the lineup. Out of all the configurations of this new Tayron, I'm driving the mild hybrid Life, and that gives you 150 horsepower from a 1.5 liter four-cylinder. And to be honest, it's quite lethargic for a car of this size. It does not weigh that much relatively, but give it a 30 horsepower bump and I would be happy. This is just a little bit too little. So if you need more horsepower, there's of course the turbocharged all-wheel drive alternatives that gives you up to 260 something horsepower. There are two engine configurations. And then there's of course the plug-in hybrid alternatives. But don't forget, if you would run out the battery, or if the battery would run out, then you would have basically the same. And the car will be heavier because of that big battery. So what are my conclusions of this new Volkswagen Tayron? Well, it is needed. It fills a gap that I think has been there for a long time for Volkswagen. They've taken the safe route with the designs and the interior features, but everything has been well thought out. A lot of good compromises to make this into a very, very well designed car that I would even consider buying if I were looking for a car in this size.